We're going to be talking about my opinion on the market. Those of you who know me know I predict markets, but I'm like a fortune teller of real estate and business, actually, for that matter. But anyway, we're going to be talking about where the market's going, where I think things are going to probably head in 2023. If you coach with me, you've probably heard a lot of this stuff, which is really great. And if you coach with me, you know that we've been accurate so far for the first 4.5 months of the year, which I think is really great. So we're going to roll right into this because we know that a lot of people watch this on replay, so we're going to make sure that we get it done. So here's the scoop, guys. You know, what you're finding this year in business in general, especially if you're in the sales industry, is you're seeing that the last 7 to 10 years have been fairly, as I like to call it, easy peasy lemon breezy. You're seeing that you may not have felt it, but now you're actually realizing, going, wait a second, looking in the rearview mirrors, you might be like, this was really easy the last 7 to 10 years. What is this? This is nothing. This is just, those of you who have been in business for a long time, such as myself, we've been through these type of changes before. So all this really means essentially is that it means that the market right now and the way that things are, it's going to be here for a while. So get used to it. This is actually more normalized, what we're going through right now. It's more normal. It's harder. Every client, it requires a lot more work. Every sale, every transaction, retaining clients requires more work. Finding clients requires more work. Getting reciprocal referral business possibly requires more work. So you're seeing that there's a lot more work that has to be done. And that's only because of the changes that have happened in the marketplace. Okay. So where I think things are going to happen is this. I called it a while ago. I said, you know, I think what you have to really be watching this year is you have to be watching consumer confidence, and you have to be watching the inflation rate regarding that. It doesn't, you know, there's a lot of factors that are impacting today's inflation. There's a lot of factors that are impacting a lot of different things. But realistically speaking, the number one thing that I look at in today's marketplace is this. You look at inflation, okay, in Canada and the United States now, but the inflation, as it starts to drop down, you're going to see the consumer confidence will rise up. So we had predicted at the beginning of the year, I said that I'm pretty sure they said in Canada, especially, they said that inflation was going to drop down to about 3% by the end of 2023. One of the things that I came out for a long time ago, months ago, is I said, I think we're going to hit that target trajectory wise. I think we'll hit it by the end of summer. So, and I said, I'm pretty sure we're going to see a rapid drop of inflation. And sure enough, we just saw it. So being on track to hit 3% by the end of summer, I think is very possible. And I think we're on pace to do that. If you study inflation, you can see that it's actually already on its path over there. So what does that do? That creates a lot more confidence. We knew that consumer confidence, when inflation is at an all-time high, consumer confidence is going to be low, and then people are going to hold back on spending. So they're going to watch the markets, they're going to watch sales, they're going to watch spending, so they're going to hold back. So that's exactly what happened. So that was a really good thing. Okay. Where we're running into a problem, and always remember, in the housing industry, especially Canada, we have a terrible amount of housing needs right now. It is like ridiculous how many houses that we're behind, and we'll cover that in another second. But let's get back to inflation. So getting to 3% is really no problem. If you study inflation, it looks like we're right on track to hit that by the end of the summer. So everything's already in place. That's like a wheel in motion. You can't really stop it. It's already on its way there. So when we saw that big drop that just happened, most of our clients, we already said that that was going to happen. So they were prepared for it. We went hard on lead generation, and we did a really good job. So we saw that happen, and we crushed out. So then you see now, if you notice, 2 weeks after that announcement, the markets are picking up, right? So you're seeing a lot more listings hitting the market. You're seeing consumer confidence go up. That is because, like we said, when inflation drops. Now, here's the problem. To get from 3% to 2% is what nobody has a plan for. So my guess is this, okay? And I said it months ago, so I'm saying it publicly now. My guess is this. There is a problem getting from 3% to 2%. That problem, when you start to see inflation hit 3%, consumer confidence will jump up tremendously. But then when you see us hit 3%, they have to figure out something to get us down to 2%. What are they going to do? Right? So my guess is this, is that you're probably going to see something happen with interest rates. So I think that interest rates in the fourth quarter of 2023, I'm actually very concerned. Not concerned that I think the world is going to end or something like that. I'm concerned that we might be very confident this quarter because we're seeing the inflation drop and we're seeing things pick up. And then you're going to go into the next quarter and it's going to be a nice active quarter. It's going to be very good out the summertime. But then my guess is that when we hit 3% inflation, they're going to do something crazy. Why? Because A, it's the government and it's the Bank of Canada. I think you're going to see them play with our real estate market because there is no solution. Okay, there's only 4 factors really that hit inflation, and one of them is the housing industry. So I think what's going to happen is they can't control prices because we're out of control with not having enough houses for the supply, and all across Canada, by the way. And I think what you're going to see in that fourth quarter, I'm pretty sure you're going to see the interest rates. They're going to do something dramatic because guess what? They have to hit 2%. Now, here's the reason why. Okay, they have to hit 2% because elections are going to be coming up. And we all know, I'm not going to get into politics, but we know that if you are a politician and you want your party to win and you want to have a majority, getting from 8% inflation to 2% within the year, there is nothing better than that. Like, I'm sorry, but that is going to guarantee that the political powers that be will stay in political power because that is a heck of an accomplishment. Even if you don't like the Liberal government, it's still a great accomplishment if they can get us down to 2%. So they will do anything they can to get us to 2%. And I think that they'll play with our real estate market in the fourth quarter to get us there. So as soon as you start to see 3% inflation, I would say that's when you can start to say that gravy train of a very steady, nice market is probably going to start to slow down a bit. So you're going to have to really work strategically. The next 2 quarters are more important than you've ever had in your business. So do not miss. If you're slow this quarter, you better get on it. You better get on it very fast because I think the next 2 quarters will be important. Now, why do I think that inflation is going to be an issue as well? Because as you've seen, those of you who avoid the news altogether, I don't, because I predict markets and that's my job. So what I look at, right now is you look at the 150,000 plus government workers that are on strike. If they get their 13% wage increase, don't forget they had a wage increase before. Okay, so during COVID, they had wage increases, and don't forget they were offered 9%, they want 13. This is not a good thing. Okay, that will mess up our inflation. And if they get their raise, and they probably will because, well, we all know this one I will say, they're like hostage takers. They're terrible. You know what? They're extortionists. All right. So Union is being an extortionist and they're pushing and they're blocking things now. They're at the courthouses. They're going to block us in from there. So if they get their 13%, by basically holding all of us hostage into passports and all the things and our taxes and everything, then what's going to happen is that they're all going to get a raise up to 13%. What's going to happen there? Okay, why is that important? That will increase our inflation. It will do the exact opposite of what we're trying to accomplish. So the only way to really hurt us is, again, to make interest rates more expensive. So even though people are getting more money, it will make expenditure less, and that'll knock inflation down again. It's not a good thing if they get the raises. That is definitely not a good thing. And that will make this whole video a little bit more relevant if that does happen. So you got to watch out for that 13%. If they do get that, and even if you don't like watching that shit, just watch it and see, because that 13% is a milestone right now for where I think the real estate market could head in the fourth quarter. So that's the peanut that you want to be watching. Okay, don't get involved in all the garbage behind it or the political stuff. Just watch and see. Are they going to get, if 150,000 plus people get a 13% raise, that ain't going to be a pretty fourth quarter for inflation. Okay, it'll do the exact opposite. So that's why the next 2 quarters are absolutely critical. Okay, and that's why I'm telling our clients, I'm like, guys, we got to really be strategic for the next 2 quarters and be very, very aggressive with our methods, with our appointments, with hitting our targets. You do not want to wait and think that this is going to be a gravy train, because it's anybody's guess. And when it's anybody's guess, you always err on the side of caution. What do I think about prices? Okay, here's another thing. The real estate market is never going to crash in Canada. Okay, I don't care who you are, what you are. You can debate me. I've been saying this for years. But take a look. We in Ontario, especially, we have 1.5 million houses. So that's 150,000 houses over the next 10 years as a mandate. Everything, we are already 2.5 years into that plan. Okay, we are 2.5 years into it, and we are officially, as provided in the budget report, it was in the budget report, we are officially 50% behind. 50% behind. So we are officially 50% behind on what we have to build for housing starts. That's a terrible friggin' thing. Okay. What does that mean? That means that we are you cannot, if we don't hit that target in the next 10 years, housing prices, they won't balance out. So it doesn't matter if you're looking in the United States, they have half the problems that we have, and they increase their interest rates higher than our interest rates. And what happened with their housing prices? Nothing. Okay. Nothing's happened. Okay. So when you have demand, you cannot play around with it. Every time they play around with interest rates or they have consumer confidence is at an all-time low, then guess what happens? What happens is that people hold and you have pent-up demand. So right now, the first quarter, we had it again. We had pent-up demand, consumer confidence, ultra low. Everything was really low. So you have to really look at that. So consumer confidence, all-time high, all-time low, plays a big factor into it. So that's where I think the housing crisis, being that we have 10 years to hit a housing crisis, we don't have any plan either. So here's where I'm saying to a lot of our clients, what I think is going to happen is they're going to start pulling everything they can. Cities are going to say permits are good. You're able to do this. You can have duplexes. You're going to see multi-generational housing start to happen all over the place. You're going to see lots of different things, permits being relaxed, prices for permits. But what I think is going to happen, my guess is this. We've already seen it in our city. Okay. So I'm not fabricating something, but what I think they're going to do is I think they're going to take vacant parcels of land, and I think they're going to offer them to developers, and they're going to offer interest-free loans. Remember, we need housing for all the immigration coming in. We need rental housing. So they can't poo-poo investors. Okay, so they cannot poo-poo investors. Investors have to have the freedom to be able to buy properties and rent them out, but they may introduce controlled rent. They have before. The government needs no permission to do that, by the way. They can just do it if they want. So we need housing that's affordable. So what I think they're going to do is I think they're going to open up parcels of land to builders and developers who have a third of them have said the permits are too expensive and stuff. And what I guess is going to happen is they're going to say, here's a parcel of land. You can have an interest-free loan for like 20 years or 15 years, interest-free loan on it, waiving the development costs, et cetera, but we want you to build affordable housing. So that's what I think they're going to do. And then after 15, 20 years, they're going to say you can do whatever you want with it. So it's a holding period where they have to allow affordable housing for 15 to 20 years of rentals, and then they can sell it off in 15 to 20 years. Developers don't mind doing that. And actually, there's a lot of programs and organizations out there who love that idea. And I think that's what they're going to do. I think it's a smart idea, but I think that's the only solution to provide affordable housing. Because what's happening now is that with the housing demand, it's really, the rent is going up, so they have to control that. But then they also have to find houses for all the immigrants who are coming in now. And that's a bigger number because we need those immigrants to come in. And by the way, my family is immigrants, right? So they're from Poland. So at the end of the day, it's, I say that with all due respect, is that there's a very big need for immigration in our city, a huge immigration in our country for it, because we don't have enough people to build the infrastructure to build houses. That's the other problem with the housing industry is we don't have enough people, which is why immigration has increased. Is we need those jobs filled and we need those trades filled. So bringing in a heavy level of immigrants is an excellent idea because they can fill those jobs, but here's the problem. They don't have anywhere to live. Right? So we have this terrible cycle that's happening all over the place, which is why they're not going to peak out the interest rates. They're not going to increase them crazy, but they're also not going to lower them crazy either. So I think we're going to play that middle ground for a while. And I think what you're going to see is developments, parcels of land, old buildings, city-owned stuff. I think you're going to see all of that come to fruition where you're going to see a bunch of, special permits given. Again, land lease or interest-free loans. And we had, I went to the OMB. Those of you know what the OMB is. I went to the OMB because I was part of one of these developments where we got a parcel of land to redevelop. We just had to really work it into the actual community because it was an old abandoned firehouse. And I think you're going to see that the government and the cities not just expanding, because that's going to do certain things, but they're going to find pockets all over your cities and they're going to actually probably do something very similar to that. And that's going to take years to do. But if they have a good plan for it, most developers don't care, because if you build something that has affordable housing for 15 to 20 years and you get interest-free permits and development fees waived and all of the above, your profit margin to keep that for 15 to 20 years and rent it out is and then have the freedom to sell it afterwards is remarkable. I mean, the ones who started that project let's say 7, 8 years ago, they're going to sell in about 5 years. I think they have left on the one that I worked on. So they have about 5 years left, and then they can sell each unit independently. They're literally going to be multi-billionaires. So it's a good waiting game for them. And I think it's going to be really, really, really good. So anyway, that's probably where I see that solution going. So here's where I'm also seeing the biggest trends right now. The biggest trends right now, obviously, consumer loyalty has dropped again. People are less concerned about who they're using for business, and they're more concerned about who's reaching out to them and helping them. There's two different things that you really want to focus on: knowledge and influence. If you're not playing the knowledge game this year and educating consumers all the time, this is less about being, big, shiny, I'm such a great person, I'm number one in my industry, blah, blah, blah. That's less about that. People are looking for knowledge. What are they looking for the most? Opportunities. Opportunities to get the best rates, opportunities to find out where the best places to buy are, opportunities to get the best education on when to sell and where to sell. So the educational component is going to be very huge. If you're not demonstrating your knowledge out there in the industry, and I mean demonstrating it, push every single day. What do you know? How much do you know? How can you help educate me? What's the value of this? What's happening with the rates? What solutions? We went back in this in January. Webinars, like push hard on how am I educating people? Recycle your content. Give out tips. Give out opinions. Don't be afraid. I see too many people like looking at the generic shit out there. They're posting generic stuff on your social media and stuff. And granted, I'm not the queen of all that either, but that's also not my gig, right? So at the end of the day, if you're looking at, really getting more consumers and having more things happen with your business, focus on how much knowledge you're sharing, how much personal opinion you're sharing, stuff like I talked about today. If you don't know that we have 10 years in Ontario to build 1.5 houses and we're 50% behind 2.5 years in, that's information that's very important to today's consumer because that gives confidence. It's not great news, but that also tells you that whatever you're purchasing is excellent. Because the prices aren't going to collapse. It's literally impossible. You have the 4 Ds. You have diapers, death, debt, and donuts. No, I'm kidding. And divorce. The fourth one is always donuts, people. Always donuts. Or we can add a 5th D. So here's what I'm suggesting. This quarter is absolutely scrap every bunch of shit that you're doing that's distracting you from anything number-wise. If you're smart, you are focused on numbers. You are focused on reaching out, numbers, home evaluations, you name it, it should be massive. Every week you should be sitting there going, okay, I've done everything, 30, 40, 50 hours. If you're not exhausted this quarter, then you're not doing enough, in my opinion. And I'm only saying that because I think, like I said, I think the fourth quarter is a red herring in 2023. I really do think that they're going to play with our interest rates because I think if you're seeing, like I said, that 155,000 government workers or the Revenue Canada workers are going to screw up our inflation. They don't care. Okay. I'm in their city. They don't care. So anyway, some do. I won't say everybody doesn't, but some do. So what you're going to see is, like I said, that 155,000 people you need to be watching. If they get the 13%, that will affect inflation. Guaranteed. Everybody knows that. Okay, so watch what happens there. This is your numbers quarter. The next quarter in the summertime, I do not think it's going to be quiet and boring. We are in a very good, like if the inflation goes away, I think it is that 3% will hit by the end of the summer. That consumer confidence is just going through the roof. Your big one, open houses. Holy shit. We are getting this morning, I just talked to a team, 63 people through an open house. Talked to another team, 43 people through an open house. We are giving our coaching clients open house systems. If you are a coaching client of ours and you're not using them, get on them. Okay. Honestly, our open house systems are working. You got to get the traffic in the door because those are the easiest layups. The second easiest layups, home evaluations everywhere, demonstrating the knowledge. Still, like I said, you have about 60 days left of webinars, but we're talking get the experts out. Really, if you're not seeing the return on your open houses, then be cautious. My advice on open houses, a very quick tip that I talk about all the time. Why are we posting pictures of the front of an open house with 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom and the price and the address? It's white noise, people. If you're looking, the number one thing consumers want is sell me on that house. Who is that house perfect for? Is it perfect for a first-time home buyer? Then why am I not seeing that? Why am I not seeing first time home buyer? Amazing opportunity. What about something that for a downsizer looking to downsize? This is why this is the perfect place. Outdoor enthusiast, here's top 3 reasons why this listing, you need to get your butt to my open house. If all you're doing is posting a picture of the front of the house and 3 captions about the price, the location, or like the location as in the address, and how many bedrooms it has, I wouldn't be surprised if nobody reads that. It's too generic, okay? So really watch where we're going right now, okay? Past client follow-ups, no stone unturned. Okay, it's remarkable how many people are not following up with past clients, how many people aren't doing that. Be cautious. It's the easy layups. This is not the quarter to start introducing new lead generation or new lead tactics. Online leads, we're averaging about 65% conversion with our systems on online leads. This is a great time to go back into the online leads. If you've had them for 2+ years, then go back and smoke them. Okay, there's tons of opportunities in the online leads if you've had them for more than 2 years. If you're just reintroducing online leads to your company now, I would say it's probably not the greatest. So I wouldn't introduce anything new. So there you have it. I'm going to just quickly recap. This quarter, numbers quarter. Nothing that is like, if you are not hitting like good appointments, solid appointments, upping your lead gen and focusing on getting with consumer confidence shifting 30% just in the past week, you need to be looking at that and saying, I got to push to get those appointments. When confidence goes up, it's awesome. It's going to remain that way probably until the end of the summer. So keep up with that. Make sure that every single day, knowledge, influence, the 2 things that you want to be constantly posting. How much knowledge do you know? Questions you're being asked. How much influence? Are you doing a Q&A on the market? Are you bringing in guest speakers? Very important to provide that kind of knowledge to consumers. Be the leader of knowledge and you will win this race for sure. Again, recruitment. This is a great time to be recruiting talented agents. Many agents are part of teams and organizations right now that cannot support them because it's such a different market. So I would suggest being very, very good with your recruiting. You're going to see some great talent in the next 90 days. Look for some opportunities on some great teams. And if you're looking to join a great team, we coach some of the most amazing teams in the industry. Reach out, holler out. And then, like I said, 4th quarter is the unknown factor. So if I were you guys, I would bank as much as I could this quarter in numbers. 2nd quarter or 3rd quarter, you want to go up a lot more. We will do some very good strategies for the 3rd quarter, but don't rely on that 4th quarter. The minute you start to see interest rates or, inflation drop down to 3% or lower is when you can start to say the government has no idea how they're going to get from 3% to 2%. They've admitted that. So if they don't know how they're going to get there, remember, the real estate market is one of the only markets that they can play around with that has a big boom to inflation, okay, because it's supply. So let's watch and see what happens there. And again, I'm not saying that the prices are going to drop. That's almost impossible based on what I told you about supply and demand. What I am saying is that be really cautious on how you're building your business this year. If you're not having a good start to the year, okay, you really need to make sure that this quarter you don't F around. You take it very seriously. And then the 3rd quarter, you don't let go. In the summertime, it's not the time you want to take 2 months off and be like, yay, I can just have fun. It's the 4th quarter. If you nail the next 2 quarters, you're going to have a great finish to the year. You promise you will have a great finish regardless. Always be prepared for the unknown and you'll never be surprised by the unknown. Okay. So it's really good advice for you guys. And like I said, hottest lead sources is what I've already covered here. So go back and do that and watch what happens. And if you need anything, reach out, holler out. We'll be doing more of these.